Okay, sorry for the long delay in me getting anything recorded as far as a video or of my progress, but basically you can see from my last progress or my last video that I made a lot of progress. I'm just sort of lazy when it comes to that, but I figure I'd just sort of give an update of where I'm at. Picture says 1,000 words, I guess you'd say, and you kind of see where I'm at. I have the body routed, carved, the neck carved, and the neck heel. Let me see if I can get a little bit better view with some of my bad carpentry. I guess for a first time, I'm doing okay. I did a special carve there in the heel, my own interpretation, because the body on my guitar is a little bit thicker than a Les Paul. This is probably going to be a pretty heavy guitar, and so at this joint right here, I noticed when I was playing, I felt I was catching, like is on this side, my hand kept bumping there. It was uncomfortable. I said, you know what? It's my guitar. It's my first build from scratch, so I'm going to try to just make this more of a transition. And it gets a bit chunky in here, but it's not uncomfortable. So I thought that was a pretty good idea, just sort of make a rounded transition and to make it more comfortable and playable. That seems to be, looks like that's going to work out pretty good. Everything has been planed as perfect as I could. Not being a carpenter and not even knowing how to use a plane, no joke, before I started this, I think I'm doing okay. Just laid everything out, paid attention to what I was doing the best I could, and of course you can see the this is filler here where the wood is not exactly level, but considering that it didn't even have a template when I first started, I'm doing okay, I believe. I taped everything off sort of prematurely, but I decided to go ahead and do the fretboard. And basically, it's just a matter of I laid that the fretboard on top when it was just the ebony with the inlays in it, on top of my my neck here, and I taped it down along the center line. And I just basically drew underneath. Let me get it over here real quick. I laid it up there, and I had a little bit of overhang on each side, so I made sure it was centered first of all, and then I basically just double taped it down, put double-sided sticky tape on the bottom of the fretboard, and then pressed it down perfectly on the center line, aligning it here on the center line and here on the center line. And then I just drew underneath it with a pencil on both sides, and basically just took a lot. Took a while to do this, but then I just took the a straight edge. Where is it at? Right here, with sandpaper on it. I think it's like 320. Just an old level that was pretty flat, so I used it. Everything seems to be coming out straight. I just taped some 320 on there and used it to sand along the side of each fretboard to the line, and just slowly checking it as I go along to make sure I didn't cheat past it. I did that without the binding on it first, but then I went back and measured the thickness of the binding and slowly just creeped up on it on either side by sanding, and just kept testing it, and basically got it pretty much perfect as far as that goes. Now, the guitar build is not perfect for sure. The fret inlays and stuff like that are not perfectly straight, and there's some little tiny scratches you can see and things like that. But it's my first time build and everything, so I'm doing okay. So the fretboard isn't perfect. If you look really close, you can see there's some. I gotta do some touch up with some stain, but I'm gonna do that later on. Hopefully, it'll work out. And then you can see right here, there's the fret wire is going to cover most of that, but it's a little bit shallow right in here. But there's other ways you can fix that I'll probably get into later. And I got a little bit of a chip there on this inlay, but notice for me, first time. One more thing, let's see, let me tell you about this. Putting this binding on was pretty simple. All I did was basically take the binding, measure it to the distance, that I needed, a little bit oversized. And then I basically took some acetone and cut small pieces of the binding and melted it in the acetone here, and they use that for a glue to paint on the side there, and then press the binding up against it, and just basically clamped it down, or held pressure on it. Really is what I did. I could have clamped it, but I just kind of basically held it down on a flat surface. This is flat, and actually I think I did it here where I had something else flat underneath it, and I set it here, and I just kind of held it down until it dried. And that's really, I think, probably in my opinion, the best way to do that from my trial and error. And the reason why I say that is because the binding itself and the binding glue, basically they melt into each other. You basically have a perfect glue line. So you won't see a glue line. You'll just see the binding right up against the wood on your fretboard. So that worked out really good. The last thing I want to talk about is the fret bars, and basically how I'm doing prepping the fret wire to be received in the binding. This is the first time into a fretboard with binding. This is the first time I've ever done this before. So I come up with a system here that I think works pretty good, and I just show other people how I'm doing it. So basically just cut the wire a little bit oversized. So I suggest maybe going a little bit more than that. And the reason why is because it's hard to use the pliers that I'm using, the system I'm using to do this. It's hard to grip the end. If you have a little bit more material to grab onto the end of the wire, then it's a little bit easier. But I mean, you still do it with this much wire shown, obviously. So basically what I did is, the tang was actually went all the way out to the ends on both sides. So I had to cut that back so it would not dig into the binding on either side. So the system I come up with that worked good with that is basically just take the binding, the fret wire, putting it in here, and holding it in a groove that actually has a slant to it. And from there, I would, with the pliers holding it here, I'm not demonstrating this very well, but basically I would hold it with the pliers here and file across in this slanting groove, and as I go, as I cut and I want to get deeper, I'll just slide it up this ramp. You can't really tell here. Let me show you this a little bit closer. See, it's ramped up. It's not focusing, but I don't have a very steady hand as well. That doesn't help. Sorry about the finger bomb there. Hilarious. Well, anyway, you can probably tell that it slants up. So I'm exaggerated here, but basically what it's doing is it's going like this, but more in a more or less in a gradual way. And what this groove does, and the pliers, the vice grips, do is it holds it steady not only on the end, which the vice grips do, but it also holds the wire, keeps it from rolling over on you and from moving around on you as you're trying to file. So that worked out pretty good. And as you can see, probably what I've seen a lot of people do on from YouTube videos and things. That's where I got this idea from. Is basically for each fret, I just drilled a hole in this 2x4, which by the way I planed perfectly flat. So everything, I'll be working on a flat surface instead of trusting my workbench, which I know is not flat. So I just drilled a hole the size of the wire, a little bit bigger than the wire, and cut my lengths so I could kind of keep track easier, with where I'm at. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm hopefully going to finish doing this today, and then hopefully be hammering in the frets. I may press them in. I'm not really sure how I'm going to approach that yet. I've seen some high-end builders, they just hammer them in, because they basically work like molly boats, where when you hammer in the frets, the little barbs on the tang will expand, sort of like a molly bolt does, and that's what holds in the fret wire. But you can go another step, which I may do, basically putting people use different types of glue, but I've seen wood glue even used. And basically what that does, it fills up any voids or gaps or anything, and you can put that in there, and I assume you could just hammer them in, clean up the glue, squeeze out a little bit, and before it dries, go ahead and use like a clamping caul or like a clamping system. I was going to use my drill press, make a special caul, you know, that's the shape of the wire out of wood, and then have like maybe an old drill bit or something, epoxy it into it and stick it in here, you know, and then have that perfect caul that's shaped exactly to the fret wire, just in, you know, and just use my drill press to press it in. I've seen people do that before. So that's another consideration I'm gonna, you know, consider. So anyway, I hope this was interesting. Take care.